Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Aggieville Alleycats podcast. Where come rain, shine, or anything in between, we're here to deliver to you the Kansas State sporting news that you so love. I'm Ace Edwards, right alongside
Connor Baltazar.
And boy, oh boy, this is probably the most full weekly recap episode that we've had in quite a long time.
Yeah, no kidding.
Me.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff went on this week, and I didn't really notice it until looking at this outline.
Yeah. But we have a couple of football recruiting notes to go over, and some soccer, some volleyball, and then, of course, the both catsketball exhibition games. But let's start off with the football recruiting news. Starting off with the first person that committed on the exact same day. There were two commits on the exact same day. It's really funny because Connor sent out one tweet and I sent out the other from a Taco Bell drive-through. There's no other funny story to that. That's just the truth. But the first one is Wesley Watson from Texas A&M Commerce, a high school down in Texas, obviously. Connor, what do you have on Wesley?
Yeah, Wesley, he was originally an SMU commit. Then Colorado came in as his first Power 5 offer, and then he subsequently committed to them. But then they just went through a coaching change. So he opened up his options and then visited K-State and committed just a handful of days later. He's a 3-star receiver. Some notable stuff about his game is that he does have really great speed and also good size. He's 6'2", 185. And his speed is really good. He runs around a 4.4, like a true laser 4.4. And his release is really good as well, too. He gets off the line really effectively, and he's advanced in that department. His hands, I didn't notice any major issues with his hands and watching film. And again, he's not going to put drops in his film. So that's maybe a bit of a bias based on what I'm seeing, but I like him a lot. I like his physical traits and his physical attributes. He's good at getting his hands out to catch the ball as opposed to body catching. He definitely has room to grow, and just in general, I'd say he's kind of flying under the radar as a recruit right now. I think he's better than his rating suggests. He's not like a 4-star or anything, but he should probably be at least like maybe a 0.86 to 0.87. He's a 0.845 right now, which, I mean, that's kind of splitting hairs, honestly, but I'd put him a little bit higher than where he is. And he did have some other notable offers, obviously, formerly committed to Colorado and SMU. He had a Houston offer as well, an Oklahoma State offer, and then a Utah offer, as well as a host of Group of 5 schools that I won't list all of them. But yeah,
Tulane's on the list.
Tulane is on the list. So some notable competition, but he definitely had some good suitors around him. Oklahoma State is notable just because I think of their offensive style. Utah as well. Both teams like to pass the ball a lot. So Wesley Watson getting offered by those schools is notable, at least to some degree. But yeah, all around, Wesley Watson really is a good pickup. And he's another addition to what's probably the best receiver class for K-State in years. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what he can do in the future. I'd imagine it'll be a little while before we see him, especially with the way that our offense is run now, where we really don't rotate receiver at all. I mean, it's really just the top 3 guys, and that's it. So I imagine it'll be a bit before we see Wesley Watson, but I do really like him.
Yeah, I agree. The main thing that came out with me is other than his huddle being in a different name, which is Wesley Greaves.
Yeah, then there was also, I believe, another source that had him as Wesley Johnson. So there's a grand mystery as to what his real name is. All the recruiting services have him as Watson, so I'm gonna roll with that. But
I mean, yeah, I guess we'll see what he ends up on the roster in a year. But yeah, the number one thing that pops out to me is when you consider how the rest of the receiving class has tuned out. You have Andre Davis, who's a big-bodied contested catch receiver. you have Jace Brown. Is it Jace?
Yes.
Yeah, it's Jace Brown, also from Florida, who's that more finessey, route running receiver. And now you have a deep threat. So realistically, you have all three of the main, quote unquote, main roles for receivers in a typical college offense. So, I that it's a good thing to have, especially because of what we'll be losing. Because you have, we're definitely losing Malik, we're losing Cade, he's out of eligibility. And I think Brooks has like the COVID year if he wants it, but that's not guaranteed. So getting that complete receiving room and a receiving class is very important.
Yeah, I totally agree. We always were going to be taking at least 3 receivers in this class. If we really wanted to push, if we found a guy that we really like, we could probably even take one more if we wanted to, depending on who else coming back. Because I think Cade's out of eligibility. Then Malik, I think he's out of eligibility as well. Brooks is like a maybe on coming back or not. And then we'll probably have 1 or 2 guys transfer out just because it is a very crowded room at the younger levels right now. So we'll see what happens there. But
Yeah. But yeah. Next up is the commitment of the left tackle from Lakeland, Florida, and that is David Voss. And like I said, he's a three-star tackle from Florida. I'll go over the offer sheet this time. He had offers from Vanderbilt, Appalachia State, Pitt, KU, and MU, among several others. And the number one thing that stuck out to me is he's athletically gifted at the left tackle position. He's extraordinarily strong, and even though his running form looks a little bit off, you can tell that he's, plenty fast. But it's worth noting that this was his first year playing offense. So it's a little bit like Asher Tomaszewski, but in reverse, to where Asher was predominantly a guard who we're recruiting to play nose tackle, and Devin Voss was formerly a defensive tackle or a defensive end that we're now recruiting. And because he's playing it in high school, he's playing at left tackle. So athletically gifted, technically raw. Yeah, let's give Connor Riley that. That's never worked out in his favor before, except all the times that it has.
yep. I don't know. I really like Devin Voss, and it's worth noting that on top of those offers that he had, which the Pitt offer came the day that he committed to K-State, which was just a couple days after his official visit. Clemson and Florida have been poking around at Devin Voss. He's a Florida native, or at the very least, he plays his high school ball there. He still, despite getting more offers by the day, he committed to K-State anyways. I think that says a lot about what he thinks about K-State and his fit. So Clemson and Florida poking around. I'd be more worried about that if he'd actually decided to wait on that, but he obviously knows that that's happening since he's the guy being recruited and he decided to commit to K-State regardless. So, I'm definitely very interested in that. And he's definitely a bit of a late bloomer. It seems like just moving to the offensive side of the ball. He has very long arms. He's very athletic. He moves laterally very well, which is kind of ironic because one of the big weaknesses in his game right now is his drop step isn't great. But he does move pretty well in space. It looks a little awkward at times, but he does get where he needs to go and does it quickly. And he can change direction pretty well. He's a very athletically gifted left tackle prospect, and he's pretty big already too. He's already 6'5", 270. And he's probably still growing a little bit. But yeah, 24/7 has him as a 0.8478 in their composite and 85 in their in-house grade. That makes him the 95th offensive tackle according to 24/7 in the country, 111th in their composite. On3 is a little bit more generous with their in-house ranking for him. They gave him an 86, and it makes him 65th best offensive tackle in the country. But I really like his film a lot. I can absolutely see why the staff was drawn to him as a prospect, despite him kind of popping up pretty recently.
Yeah.
He's another one of the It feels like they do it every year where there's just like two or three guys that pop up kind of later in the cycle, and you look at their film and you're like, how did this guy stay hidden this entire time? Last year was Ryman, although he went way later than Devin Voss did.
Yeah.
But I like him a lot. He plays at a really, really good program, Lakeland. They're one of the best high school teams in the country, which makes it even more surprising that he flew under the radar as a starting left tackle for such a good program. But he he is technically raw. Again, that's how most of the offensive linemen we get are. Not always, but a lot of the time. He's kind of similar to Jackson Fulmer in that he is pretty new to the offensive side of the ball. Although Fulmer has a bit more experience. But I like Devin Voss quite a bit. I think that he does really have potential to be a starter on this team based on his film, especially with this being his. I'm giving him a lot of grace because it is his first year playing left tackle, which makes his film more impressive because he really is quite good. He does have things he needs to clean up, like his drop step and whatnot, but he moves laterally really well. He is assignment sound, and when he gets his hands on you, it's very difficult to disengage, and he's probably going to pancake you. So he is really good despite being fairly new, kind of a novice to the position. But I'm absolutely fascinated by what Connor Riley could do. I've given him a year or two in the weight room and some additional technical instruction. Devin Voss could really become a problem. I also don't know if it's Voss or Vass, but I've been saying Voss. So
Yeah, I've been saying Voss. I'm not sure if it's Vass. It's one of those things where we'll find out in a year that we've been
mhm.
pronouncing it wrong, like, past story.
Yeah,
But
which that was a shame. Or Lane Gang,
Lane Gang,
because we thought it was Lion Gang for the longest time,
people
but
still do that.
and you know what? That's fair. I get the allure to want to call an offensive lineman whose last name looks like Lion Gang, Lion Gang. That's not how you say it though.
No, it's Lane Gang.
Yeah, which is such a shame. I mean, pronounce your name however you'd like. The Lion Gang would be pretty cool.
Yeah. But yeah, that's the football recruiting news. Now we can start talking about the other football, which is K-State soccer. In our first ever appearance into the Big 12 tournament for soccer, we had the unfortunate distinction of meeting the Texas Longhorns and got
Yeah.
smoked 0-4.
Yeah.
What can you say, really?
Very, very little. I watched the first half of this game, and I mean they really did get more offensive chances than I thought that they would. Especially in the first half. They had a few moments where they truly should have had a goal. And it just like they had a few hit off of like the upper crossbar. And K-State definitely should have scored in this match. They offensively performed better against Texas than I think we're used to seeing, although Texas did just have an absolute onslaught from the 26th minute to the 34th minute. That's where they scored three of their goals. Holly Ward had one in the 26th minute, Emily Jane Cox in the 28th minute, just a little bit later. And then Lexi Missimo in the 34th minute made a penalty kick. It was a penalty on Elena Wehrmeyer. And then Trinity Byers put one away in the 70th minute to make it 4-0. K-State had 10 shots in this game, 7 on target. So when they were getting their opportunities, they were at least getting them close. Texas had 20 shots, 9 on target. It's pretty bad disparity, but honestly better than I expected.
Yeah.
And saves were roughly even, 5 for K-State, 7 for Texas. Texas did double us up and more than double us up in corners, 15-7, and K-State fouled 11 times at Texas's 6. And then 2 yellow cards were given out, Marissa Weichel in the 16th minute and Trinity Byers in the 66th minute. So yeah, unfortunate result. I can't say that I'm surprised at all. So I wasn't disappointed. If nothing else, it was a step in the right direction getting to the tournament. Yeah, we had to face a top team in the conference, which I mean that could happen to anybody. But I was happy that we made it. It was the first time that we've done it, and growth is probably going to continue to be incremental. But I was, yeah, of course, disappointed in the score. But defense needed a lot of work. Um, and controlling in the midfield needed a lot of work, but at least when we had chances, we were doing something with them.
Yeah,
Not even getting points, but just
we're
making
trying.
getting competitive shots is honestly a step up on this Texas, like compared to how we've played in the past against Texas. Like putting up competitive shots, like actually means something. Like and like make them work to defend it. That is a step up from how we've competed against them in the past.
Yeah,
So again, that's a little bit sad to say, but regardless, at the end of the day, that is a bit of a step up. Um, so I'm not going to be upset with how the soccer season ended at all. I mean, we finally made it to the Big 12 tournament. That was our goal coming into the year. Ace and I, that was our goal for the team,
yeah.
and they accomplished that. So I won't sit here and say this was like a phenomenal season or anything, but
No,
it was probably the best season that they've ever had.
no,
So
it's the best season we've ever had as a soccer program, and they're that's worth commending. All we wanted was progress, and we have shown tangible progress, and that counts for a lot. But that's it for the soccer season. But we do have one honor to give away. Not well, the Big 12 had an honor that they gave away that we're covering, and that is Jasmine Brown was named to the All Big 12 freshman team. So congratulations to Jasmine Brown. Thank you, and hopefully you know, bright future ahead for both the K State soccer program and Jasmine Brown at K State.
yep, Jasmine Brown is totally deserving of that award. Um, as a freshman, I thought that she looked like our best defender more often than not. So she's going to be a really nice piece to build around on the back line. That was something you and I identified pretty early. Was she really stood out amongst the rest of the defenders on the team in terms of her impact and as well as starting to begin the year, which is very impressive for a true freshman just right out of high school. So hoping that her career continues its trajectory and it's upward momentum.
Yep. But that's all we're going to be able to cover for soccer for the rest of the year. But now we can move on to volleyball. Oh boy, volleyball. All right, we have two matches to cover. The first was up against the University of Texas, number seven, no, number two in the country, Texas. And well, we won a set. We lost 1-3, but we won a set. And it broke down like this. K-State won the first set 25-23, and then lost the second set 25-13, then lost the third set 25-16, and the final set 25-21. So, um, yeah, the middle sets were rough, exceedingly rough.
Yeah. Uh, Getting that win in the first set is nice, but I mean, I'm not really in the mood with the volleyball team to like give out moral victories like I just did for the soccer team.
Yeah,
I mean, it's Texas. They're an Olympic team. I didn't expect to win. Uh, but I mean, this is partly frustration from the next game, flowing
seeping
over.
through.
But yeah, winning that first set and then not really doing anything with it, that's kind of been par for the course. It feels like with volleyball this year, just not really clutch at all. And generally really struggling to get things done. Um, Haley Warner had 16 attack attempts, 5 kills, 1 error. Lauren Hinkle had 34 sets, 2 aces, 10 digs, and then had 4 kills on 5 attempts. Sydney Bolding, 7 kills, 12 attempts, 2 errors. Then 2 digs as well. Elena Baca, 31 attack attempts, 7 kills, 4 errors. Leah Carter was actually negatives on her hitting percentage, 37 attack attempts, 8 kills, 9 errors. A lot of those kills came in the first set as well, as I recall. Katie Fernholz hit all right. 29 attack attempts, 9 kills, 2 errors. And Shaylee Myers had a pretty rough match as well. 15 attack attempts, 2 kills, 2 errors. Mackenzie Morris added 17 digs. But I mean, this was just a case of Texas just being substantially better than us in every like recognizable way.
Yeah,
Um, Because I mean, there were many times where they would simply jump over our defense, like hit the ball for our defense, hit it harder than we would. I mean, I'm not, I was upset at the beginning of this. I'm not gonna sit here and get like relentlessly angry about us losing to the United States Olympic team.
Yeah.
That's not a good use of time. Yeah, we did not play well at all, and I'd like to see more competitiveness, but I can't say that we didn't see this coming. So a little aggravating to lose that fourth set when you had it tied at 17, but you know, it is what it is.
You want to talk about aggravating? Yeah, the next volleyball match. It's the second half of the Sunflower Showdown going down in Lawrence, Kansas, and we just got swept. It's 25-23, 25-16, then 25-15. It it's just it's frustrating, frankly, because this is a team that has a great deal of talent. This isn't just some like collection. It's not like we're a bad team. It's not like it's a team that started existing 7 years ago. It We just find ways to lose.
Yeah. I mean, at one they had this match, or the first set, I should say, they had a tie 22 all, and then 24-23, they were down. So they were right there in that first set. And then sets 2 and 3 just completely fell apart. And just I mean, like I was checking score updates as I was going. I was like, okay, close first set. We should compete in these next two, and we just didn't. Um, just not a good showing at all, especially in a rivalry game. I mean, you got to show up better than how they did. I get KU is a pretty good team this year, but I mean, we should be registering a set victory against KU, if nothing else, especially after blowing our home match to them. I mean, a, a very frustrating uh, performance. You go up and down the score sheet for K State, and really the only person that had a particularly good offensive night, other than Elena Baca, is Haley Warner. 19 attack attempts, 9 kills, 3 errors. Baca, 27 attack attempts, 9 kills, 3 errors, and then 9 digs as well. So pretty versatile there. Mackenzie Morris had 7 digs, kind of low for her standards, but that's what it is. Lauren Hinkle had 27 sets. Main attackers, Leah Carter wasn't phenomenal. She had 15 attack attempts, 4 kills, and error. Shaylee Myers was okay, 24 attack attempts, 6 kills, 0 errors, but just not enough there. Um, would really like to see more out of this team, which I don't think that we're asking much, um, just to get a set out of this. But I mean, it seems like one of our big issues has been defense, because it seems like every match there's at least one or two players on the other team that are hitting at ridiculous rates, barely committing errors, and it's pretty much they get a kill if they want it. That happened against KU. They had 2 players hitting above 500, 4 total hitting 400 or higher. Granted, one of the 400 ones only has 5 attempts, so that's asterisk. They had somebody hitting 750 as well, 6 of 8. I mean, offensively, KU was pretty much doing whatever they wanted, unless they had like a self-inflicted issue, especially in those latter sets. Just I don't know. This team is really struggling against higher quality competition, which is very frustrating because this was a tournament team last year, and they were very competitive against some really good teams last year, and we gave them the benefit of the doubt, gave them a lot of grace. And this year has been pretty disappointing for the most part, which is very unfortunate, because I like watching volleyball. I want to get more into the sport, and I'm excited for the new arena to open up next year. But it's very aggravating that it seems like we just can't quite get over the hump.
Yeah, yeah, it's frustrating, and that's all I can really say. Next matchup is in Ames up against number 25 in the country, Iowa State. So we'll see how that goes. And I'm going to flip the outline here because uh, I just figured out that the women's team doesn't have stats recorded for the Fort Hays State exhibition.
That's a shame.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about the women's catsketball exhibition up against Fort Hays State. K-State ended up winning 74 to 63. I got to sit courtside because they were just giving courtside tickets away to students who showed up early. So
Congrats.
yeah, it was actually a really cool experience. The basketball team, the men's basketball team, were actually sitting right behind where I was,
Oh, awesome.
and they were trolling the women's team a little bit.
How rude.
Yeah, it was in good fun though.
That's
But
good.
yeah, so we won 74 to 63. I have concerns. I have concerns.
That is fair. That's fair.
Most of which comes down to the fact that we don't really have a functioning five. And our best option there is true freshman Eliza Maupin, and that is because she is a monster athlete who could really play just about anywhere.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah, that was a definitely frustrating game. Kind of got out to a decent start, but really just continued to let it stay close until they finished pretty strong. Um, some yeah, I wish that we had stats for this, but
it'd be nice.
yeah, Gabby Gregory, she shot pretty decently in uh somewhat limited action. Sundell was all right. Briley Glenn had 15 points. Gregory had 22. They have a few stats in the recap. But yeah, Sundell had 7 points, 8 assists, 7 rebounds, and 2 steals. And they shot 38% from three. Um, they were all right. Defensively need some work. Definitely need a 5. Because there's just not really somebody that can play that spot right now that I have any faith in. I will say Eliza Maupin, we've been excited about her all off season, and she was every time she stepped on the floor, she was the most athletic person on the floor. She was awesome. She was doing things that nobody on the team can do. She just needs to develop from a skills perspective. Just needs to learn the game a little bit more. I mean, she's a freshman at the end of the day, but athletically, she can do things that most can't. Ryan Smoller was saying on the broadcast that she can dunk, that she has dunked in practice. So that would be pretty awesome to see, like in a breakaway fast break, Eliza Maupin dunking in game, because I would definitely get on Sports Center.
Yeah,
So
we Bramlage would probably, the people there would probably lose it.
yeah, as they should. But she looked really good. Um, she's very versatile. I'm really looking forward to seeing what she can do. We saw a lot of other young players. Jamia Harris kind of stood out, I felt, amongst the younger players at point guard. Showed a diverse skill set, pretty good at distributing, and was able to get some shots up and drive a little. But all around, they were fine, which is weird because there were a lot of good individual performances. But as a whole, there was a lot left to be desired. And then, of course, the gaping hole at the 5 spot that is being left by Ayoka Lee.
Yeah.
Like, we knew it was going to be tough to replace that. But I mean, it's going to be tough. Like is all I'm going to say. So, I mean, the season went from Big 12 title contending to maybe making postseason like very fast. Which luckily Ayoka will be back last or next year, and actually has 2 more years of eligibility, so might get 2 years of Ayoka. But yeah, it could be a bit of a rough year this year. But again, it's one game, it was an exhibition, so I'd like to see more domination than an 11-point win. But
Yeah. Other big news: Heavenly Greer escaped NCAA jail.
she finally played, and I was so happy for her. Congratulations, Evan Greer, on finally getting to play basketball for Kansas State University.
But yeah, The women's basketball team has another scrimmage the day this comes out, I do believe, or not a scrimmage, but an exhibition the day this comes out.
Mhm.
So obviously support the women's basketball team if you can. Now we can talk about the men's basketball exhibition, which was significantly less concerning. And that was a victory up against Washburn, 76-49. And, we could go through all the stats, but at the end of the day, I feel like stats are, for an exhibition game, you can kind of take them or leave them. I will go, well, obviously, whenever the season starts up more, we'll go into individual stats, but I want to talk more generally about this team because I have already fallen in love with this team.
Yeah, they are an inherently likable squad. Just from watching them, I'm gonna cheat. I am going to use one stat, and it's
Yeah,
Jarrell
no.
Colbert getting 5 blocks.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
Just because I think that is absolutely hilarious because he got 5 blocks in 9 minutes of game time, and then like he had 2 field goals made, and I think they were both dunks, I think.
I think so.
But he looks really good in his limited action. And obviously there were some chemistry issues where, guys weren't reading each other's minds like you would expect from like a team that had played together for a while. I mean, this was their first time on the floor for a extended period of time, like in a live action game setting. Desi Sills has literally been here for like 2 weeks. And like he looked really good. He dished out 7 assists in 20 minutes. He didn't make a field goal, but it is what it is. But there were a lot of really like exciting things about this team. For one, they played it with such an intensity that I feel like we haven't seen as much recently, and if at all. I mean, they played with more intensity in a game that didn't count than we saw for most of the last few years of the Bruce Weber era. I mean, they were getting to the floor constantly. There were so many jump balls. There were the team, they were fast, unbelievably fast, very athletic. This is a team filled with athletes, rim runners, guys that'll break someone's ankles, throw out a flashy pass. This is going to be a very, very fun team to watch. And another thing they can do that last year's team really struggled with is they can rebound. They were rebounding at a really good rate, especially offensive rebounds. Naquan Tomlin, David Gasson especially had really good nights in the offensive rebounding department, which again, you could say something good about basically everybody that saw the floor, I think. Like for one, Keontae Johnson, he looked like the general of this team. I felt like Keontae Johnson, when he stepped on the floor, he just had a presence about him. And the way that he played, he was just better than everybody else. And he knew it, and everybody else knew it. And he is definitely the on the floor, like basketball wise, leader of this team. I was really excited to watch him play. And then of course David Gasson was somebody that like kind of surprised me. I felt he played very well, I thought, and has a really interesting skill set because I think he could truly guard the 1 through the 4 at 6'9" and incredible wingspan. And he's very athletic. Another very fun player to watch. I've talked for a while that Utah case.
Yeah, I it's just so I get so excited thinking about this team because outside of rebounding, we finally learned how to play against a zone defense.
We did. We did. And I like that Washburn tested that. They were like, is this still like Bruce Weber K-State where if you throw a zone at them, they just like spontaneously combust? No, we threw a lob up to Tyke Green and he threw it down for a highlight reel dunk. And Washburn said, we are never doing that again.
And
Fair.
then didn't.
And they did not. So, but I mean, you could say so much about everybody on this team. I feel like Cam Carter jumps off the page as somebody that I think we expected to be good and be a big contributor, but he is doing more sooner than I thought that he would, is I think a good way to put it. Then like Marquise Noel's Marquise, he was sloppy at times, other times looked absolutely incredible. You know what you're getting with Marquise. Naquan Tomlin was another incredible athlete. He's like 6'9", 215, 220. And went from the wing and did like a Euro step layup like smoothly and gracefully, which is unfair. Like, like he will be with that level of athleticism, he will be an NBA player. And he attempted 3-pointers in this game as well. So I mean, like 6'9" with that skill set, he's going to be a problem if he can really put it together. And then you have 5 offensive rebounds as well.
Yeah, it's I'm excited for this team just because the way that the roster is constructed is I don't see any big weaknesses. I think the biggest question I had was at the five, and then we figured out, oh wait, no, we casually just have two. We have Obayami, who's really freaking good on defense, and then Jarrell Colbert, who just decided that he was going to be in for 9 minutes, but he was going to make the 9 minutes count, and he was going to bully everyone on that court.
Yeah, Colbert was really, really good off the bench. I don't, I'm not going to set the expectation of 5 blocks a game from Jarrell Colbert or like whatever it is. He looked really good. He was bullying people. He blocked a dude into the stands and then helped him up, which was just a shame.
That's even more
Uh,
disrespectful than
it
walking
really
over
was,
him.
I thought. He was good. Igiola moved better than I expected him to, although Colbert definitely does move a lot better than Igiola. Um, Ish Massoud started, which is kind of surprising to me, honestly. I kind of thought that Naquan Tomlin would start in his spot. But Massoud was fine. He played sparingly. I mean, there was a lot of rotation in this game, so we didn't see, a ton of any one person. He he played enough and he made a couple of shots. He had a nice fadeaway and then he made a 3 as well. But there's just so many guys on this team that athletically is very easy to get out to get very excited about. Because I mean, you go up and down the list, and there's not a bad athlete on this team, really. I mean, you could say Agiola is like not like an above average athlete, but even so, he would have been the most athletic big on the team last year, other than Casey with a like healthy knee. Like,
Well, which he
and
never
even then,
had.
like I still think Gigiola is more athletic than a healthy Casey Ziegu. So, I mean, this is if nothing else, a very athletic team, a very driven team, a high motor team, and they they they're just a lot of fun to watch. Like we keep coming back to that, but it's like a breath of fresh air to watch them play. Because even when they're throwing shots up and they aren't making them as much as you'd like to think, they've got a really athletic guy going up and getting the offensive rebound, and they were making shots at the rim at a really good rate. I think I saw they made like 66% of their shots like that were like layups or close to the bucket, something like that. But I don't know. There was every guy that you saw on the floor. I feel like you could have a reason to be excited about them for one reason or another. Even somebody like Anthony Thomas, who didn't play a ton, but it's so fascinating to have a guard with his dimensions, where he's like 6'7" with incredibly long arms. That he's not built like a normal guard. And then Taj Manning, he played 5 minutes as a true freshman, and he had two buckets and 3 rebounds and looked pretty good, honestly. Kind of further along than I thought. I doubt we see much of him this year, but he's further along than I anticipated. But I mean, I don't know. I guess for you, Ace, what are some of like we talked a lot about positives, which I like doing because positives are good, allegedly. But
Allegedly.
where is there anything that you walked away concerned about? Like, not even it doesn't even have to be to like a like season ending degree, just like something that the team needs to fix.
Well, yeah, like it's like you said earlier, and Tang said in the interview, it's stuff that's just gonna get better by playing together. Because they ended up having 19 turtle turnovers. Yeah, total turnovers. And a lot of that is just they haven't played together enough. I think that that's something that gets solved with time. If we can control the turnovers and just have like, a positive like ratio there, we're this team's dangerous. It's genuinely
Yeah.
dangerous.
Yeah. And this team, Jerome Tang said a few times his goal was to keep it under 11 turnovers per game. Good luck with that. I that will not be my expectation. I think this is really a team that just needs to have more assists and turnovers to keep turnovers under like probably about 14, I'd say. But They were so aggressive defensively. They had 12 steals. Cam Carter had 3. Marquise and Keontae had 2 apiece, and a bunch of other guys had 1. I mean, they were so much fun to watch defensively. Marquise basically played the same role that he did last year on defense, which was just go annoy the person with the ball, but do it more. And like everything's like ramped up to 11. The defense was outstanding for a lot of this game, not just with like block shots and whatnot, but they just really played well. And while there were some communication issues offensively, like with turnovers, defensively, most of the time, other than when it was primarily backups, and the communication was really good. It seems like, again, late perspective, it's been a few days since this game happened. Am I wrong? But I felt like defensively they communicated really well. And their defense, they're going to be a defensively focused team, of course, but I actually really liked watching them play defense just because of how aggressive they were. Um, but yeah, they again just really really fun team to watch. And if I were going to add something to like the taking care of the ball that they need to work on, I'd say it's free throws. They got to the line at a really high rate, 29 free throws in this game, which I really liked, but they only hit 15 of them, so barely above 50%. They definitely need to work on that, and they know that. I mean, free throws, that's luckily one of the easier things in basketball to fix because you can do it by yourself. So they 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 have at the very least accomplished drawing the foul. They just need to work on converting those free throws at a higher rate, which is what it is. I'd imagine that will continue to improve. It might even be better in their first game. I'd imagine they'll be shooting a lot of free throws this week. But I mean, yeah, we've talked generally for a while, and a lot of it just comes back to how much fun this team is to watch, how fun the coaches are on the sidelines to watch, good of a how in tune and in sync and comfortable Jerome Tang looked on the sideline. And there were a few moments even where after something big happened, it seemed like the coaches were getting up and they were like raising their arms up and like trying to get the student section more into it. So even during games, they were looking towards the students to be like the heart of the arena,
Yeah, and it
which
was it was a great turnout from the students.
yeah. And honestly, really, it was a good turnout period. I saw the attendance was 6,800, which like is like okay. But if you go back to last year, 6,800 eclipses all but I think 4 or 5 of the games, which was Marquette, KU, Iowa State, and then there was one other game that had more than that, but I don't remember which it was. Um, it might have been like Texas Tech, maybe, but I can't recall off the top of my head. It was not Texas Tech. But it was all around a good crowd. It seemed like from the live stream at least. So
Yeah,
yeah, although definitely a student focused crowd is probably the best way to put it.
yeah, yeah. It's going to be a fun basketball season, no matter what. It's going to be a fun one. But yeah, that wraps up the news segment. Now we can go into everyone's favorite segment, which is the wacky segment of the week. This week's question is not at all inspired by anything, I promise. If you if you could get the all 22 for any game on the schedule, be it past or future, which game are you choosing?
You go first because this one is definitely a directed at you question.
Mm-hmm. I would probably end up picking. I'd actually probably go with a future game, and I would actually say I would really like to get the all 22 for whenever we play Baylor, just by virtue of I really want to know more about Baylor's defensive scheme, just because I think it's interesting. I don't think I'd be able to like apply anything from it, but I think it'd be really cool to learn more about Baylor's defensive scheme just because of how Dave Miranda runs it. But there's someone who has all 22 of the Oklahoma State game out there. Hmm I'm not angry about it. I'm not frustrated about it.
Just disappointed.
I I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed.
Um, if I had to pick a game, I would say either a game like in the future, like an undisclosed game like in a future season, or I'd really like to see, I'd say maybe a game from like 2012. Like I want to get all 22 from like when Snyder 2.0 was really clicking on all cylinders. And if not that, then maybe like a game from like 1998 because I'd really like to dig into that offense and just how it was so effective. And then also that defense because like those defenses back then were just absolutely ludicrous. So, I mean, so there's some older games. Um, but I mean, Oklahoma State would be pretty fun too.
Yeah.
Um, a lot to take in there. Honestly, 2019 OU would be a good one because that was a game where we really gashed them. Uh, and I would like to know why because that still confuses me to this day, just like how easily we were able to run on them at times.
Yeah. Anything else?
No, I don't. I don't have anything else.
All right. Well, then this wraps up this episode of the Aggieville Alleycats podcast. Thank you all so much for listening. If you want to contact the show, you can follow us on Twitter at Aggieville Alleycats. That's capital A, capital A, and capital C in cats. If you want to email us, we're aggievillealleycats@gmail.com. If you want to follow us on a more personal note, I am at AC Edward00.
I am at Connor Baltazar, capital C, capital B.
And if you want to support the show financially, please be sure to check out the official Aggieville Alleycats merch store, where you can find such designs as the staff-approved Doom 10 Clan, Play Sandstorm Cowards, and Neon Alleycats. But most importantly, thank you all for listening to this episode of the Aggieville Alleycats podcast. Where come rain, shine, or anything in between, we're here to deliver to you the Kansas State sporting news that you so love. Stay safe, Alleycats.